The morbid confidence with which the young Aristobulus assured Humboldt that below their feet, a little to the right of the spot on which Humboldt stood at the moment, there was an artificial, large-flowered datura tree, formed of gold wire and gold plates, which spread its branches over the Inca's chair, impressed him painfully, for it seemed as if those elusive and baseless visions were cherished as consultations in present sufferings. He asked the lad, "Since you and your parents believe so firmly in the existence of this garden, are not you sometimes tempted in your necessities to dig in search of treasures so close at hand?" The boy's answer was so simple and expressed so fully the quiet resignation characteristic of the aboriginal inhabitants of the country that Humboldt noted it down in his journal. "Such a desire does not come to us. Father says it would be sinful if we had the golden branches with all their golden fruits. Our white neighbors would hate and injure us. We have a small field and good wheat." Quitting Caxamarca, the travelers descended into the valley of Magdalena, the outlet to which lay over the mountain pass of Guanmaraca. A longing desire now seized them to behold the sea, which they had not seen for 18 months. In looking for the summits of the volcanoes near Quito, no sea horizon could be nearly clearly distinguished by reason of the too great distance of the coast and the height of the station. It was like looking down from an air balloon into vacancy. Subsequently, when Loxa and Guatabaca, they reached the Paramo de Guamin. From hence the mule drivers had confidently assured them that they should see beyond the plain, beyond the low districts of Pura and Lamba Jek. The sea itself, which they so desired to behold, a thick mist covered both the plain and the distant seashore. They saw only variously shaped masses of rock alternately rise like islands above the waving sea of mist, and again disappear. They were now exposed to almost the same disappointments as they toiled up the mighty mountainside, with which their expectations continually on the stretch. Their guides, who were not very well acquainted with the road, repeatedly promised them at the end of the hour's march their hopes would be realized. The stratum of mist which enveloped them appeared occasionally to be about to disperse, but at such moments their field of view was again restricted by intervening heights. "The desire which we feel," says Humboldt, "to behold certain objects does not depend solely on their grandeur, their beauty, or their importance. It is interwoven in each individual with many accidental impressions of his youth, with early predilection for particular occupations, with an attachment to the remote and distant, and with the love of active and varied life. The previous improbability of the fulfillment of a wish gives, besides to its realization, a peculiar kind of charm. The travelers enjoy by anticipation the first sight of the constellation of the cross." and of the Magellanic clouds circling round the southern pole of the snow of the Chimborazo, and the column of smoke ascending from the volcano of Quito. Of the first grove of tree ferns and of the Pacific Ocean, the days on which such wishes are realized form epochs in life and produce ineffaceable impressions, exciting feelings of which the vividness seeks not justification by proceeding of reason. With the longing which Humboldt felt for the first time of the Pacific, from which the crests of the Andes there mingled, the interest with which he had listened as a boy to the narrative of the adventures expeditions of Vasco Nuez de Balboa, the fortunate man who, followed by Francisco Pizarro, first among Europeans, beheld from the heights of Quequia on the isthmus of the Panama, the eastern part of the Pacific Ocean. When, after many undulations on the ground, on the summit of the steep mountain ridge, the travelers finally reached this highest point, the Alto de Guamaraca. The heavens, which had long veiled, became suddenly clear. A sharp west wind dispersed the mist, and the deep blue of the sea in the thin mountain air appeared between narrow lines of the highest cirrhosis clouds. The whole of the western declivity of the Cordillera by Churrillos and Cascas, covered with large blocks of quartz, and the plains of Chala and Molinos, and as far as the sea shore near Truxillo, lay beneath their eyes in the astonished apparent of proximity. They now saw for the first time the Pacific Ocean itself, and they saw it clearly, forming along the lines of the shore a large mass from which the light shore reflected, and rising in its immensity to be well-defined horizon. They reached Truxillo, from hence they proceeded southward along the sandy tracts that bordered the Pacific, until they came to Lima, near Truxillo. Humboldt visited the ruins of the ancient city of Chimi and descended into the tomb of a Peruvian prince, in which Garcia Gutierrez del Toledo, while digging a gallery in 1576, discovered a mass of gold, amounting in value to more than $1 million. They remained some time at Lima and Cala, Bauplant botanizing, and Humboldt studying the influences of the climate and making astronomical observations. They were fortunate enough while at Lima to observe the transit of Mercury over the sun's disk, which enabled Humboldt to determine the exact latitude of the city. Towards the end of December 1802, or at the beginning of January 1803, they departed from Mexico, sailing for Acapulco in the Spanish frigate Atlanta. They touched at Guayquela on the way and remained there several days. Here they heard from the inaccessible old friend Cotopaxi. Although they were at least 150 miles from him, after a long period of rest, the volcano had suddenly burst into violent eruption and was discharging its terrible artillery. They heard it day and night. After a few hasty preparations, they started inland fired with the determination to revisit the volcano. But before they had gone far, they were recalled by the news that the frigate was obliged to set sail immediately. They were soon at sea again, standing away to the north and west for Acapulco. They landed in Mexico on the 23rd of March, 1803.